Hello and welcome to the NFL DFS slate breakdown for Thursday Night Football. We got the Ravens at the Bengals. It should be an interesting game. Should be some offense actually in a Thursday night game, and one that we might be a little interested in to watch. So it's a great one to come join us and play some DFS. So before we get into it, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to our videos. It helps us out a ton. Just feed that algo a little bit and give us a little more reach, which in turn gives us the ability to give more content out for free. Now, let's get into the slate. I think it's going to be a fun one. I'm going to do similar to what I have done the last couple weeks and try and go over everything with ownership over to the right. If you guys don't like this way, please let me know in the comments. It does seem, at least on my side, a little easier to manage the show, and so I'm not switching back and forth quite as much. So, injury-wise, we're okay on this slate. There's not too much. We have Duvernay's questionable. We have a depth piece out, and T. Higgins is out for the Bengals. And then the Bengals do have some defensive injuries, but outside of that, both teams are fairly healthy right now. And the Bengals have been playing some of their better football all year. Meanwhile, the Ravens, they're 7-3, just keep winning games. So I think this is going to be a fun one here to go over. And let's get into it. So I want to start off just by going through the matchups, and we'll start off at the quarterback spot, which on the right here, we have the FanDuel ownership. We have Joe Burrow coming in high owned, Lamar a little bit less. Now, I do not think Lamar is going to be this low owned. He is going to rush a lot. I would say him and Burrow are going to be very, very similar ownership. And then on the DraftKings side, this is more what I expect. Both guys, 80% owned or something. The only reason they're not more is because they're expensive and both quarterbacks are viable. And it's going to be real hard to fit both quarterbacks in with any, solid other offensive weapons here. So, as far as the quarterbacks, though, I do think both of them are in a good spot. So, Lamar looks like he is clearly in the better matchup. There is one thing I want to say about this, though. If you look at the Bengals, first 6 weeks, they were really good against the quarterback. And what was going on? They didn't really face anybody. Look, Lamar had a decent day. Watson had, an okay day, but that was on a 154, a touchdown and an interception. He was able to rush for some yards there that kind of got it done. We know Lamar can rush, but he got it done. Stafford didn't do much. Tannehill didn't do much. Dobbs didn't do much. Geno didn't do much. They had their bye, and then Purdy, Allen, and Stroud have just crushed this Bengals D. Now, with the Ravens, they really haven't played much at the quarterback position all year long. Stroud, in his first game as an NFL quarterback, can't expect him to do much. And he threw for almost 250 yards. He had a decent day. Joe Burrow, week 2, the dude could still barely move. 222 and 2 touchdowns. Minshew, meh. DTR, meh. Pickett, meh. Tannehill, meh. Goff, look, he threw for 284 yards, but just didn't get in the end zone. He had 0 touchdown passes, 1 interception. At least he was able to get yards there. Dobbs had a decent day. Geno's Geno. Deshaun Watson, not only did he get hurt, he's just not that good right now. So, all in all, I do think that it's an okay matchup for Burrow. I think that the matchup just looks way worse, but when you break it down, see who the Ravens have played, it makes a lot more sense why they've been so good. I think that the Bengals will be able to throw the ball, and Burrow's going to be just fine. Ownership-wise, I'm fine with him. If Lamar is lower owned on FanDuel, I'll be hitting him heavy, but I expect them both to be similar owned. Now, understand that this is in the morning on Thursday, so a lot can change ownership-wise. Just kind of giving my take right now as far as what's going on. All right, if we go to the running back spot, we got the Gus Bus in the best matchup. He's also with the highest ownership on DraftKings, and on FanDuel, he is third highest owned. Now, this Bengals matchup is okay. Running backs have been able to do decently. The issue for me with Gus Bus, 50% of the snaps last week, 11 carries, 1 target. So he had 12 touches. The week before, 5 carries. He played 18% of the snaps, but got 2 touchdowns. He's clearly the goal line back for them. And with the emergence of Keaton Mitchell, I just don't like Gus's workload as much. They really have a 3-headed backfield with Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, and Mitchell. So last week, Gus Edwards played like 50% of the snaps, and then Hill and Mitchell split. I do expect Mitchell to probably keep seeing a little more touches. He's clearly the most explosive runner they have in this backfield, and he's good with both passing and catching. So I think more is going to go his way. Am I saying, slam Mitchell? He's been insane. He's going to keep doing that? No. Temper your expectations with Mitchell. Also, look, 10 touches 2 weeks ago, 4 touches last week. It's really hard to sustain this level of output with those few touches. Now, we've seen 2 guys this year do it. We've seen A-Chain and now Mitchell do it. So can it happen? Yeah, it's happened a couple times. Will it continue to happen? I don't think so. And that's my worry here, is he may not touch the ball that much. Now, he is expected to see more touches, so maybe he gets like 8 to 10 this week and he's viable, but you're taking a chance on that 8 to 10 and the hype around him. Maybe his ownership gets a little bit higher. But I could see either way with you playing him or not. On the DraftKings side, he's right around 17% owned and 19% owned. So, Joe Mixon, we got to talk about here. Look, the Ravens have been okay, similar to the Bengals. They've been okay against the running back. They haven't allowed many rushing touchdowns. They've allowed a few, but running backs are able to have a big game. It seems like the running backs are either getting stuffed or doing decently. Now, Ford, 17 for 107. Hunt got the touchdown. With Kenneth Walker, this game, he didn't get much work. This was one of the games where he was kind of banged up, but he also split work with Charbonnet, but neither of them did that much. Mercado, it's Arizona, but Gibbs crushed him. Henry had a good game. Najee's Najee. There's several guys that have had good games. Now, Mixon, my issue with him, he just doesn't have much of a ceiling. He had this 5 touchdown game last year. Outside of that, just always under 20 fantasy points, pretty much. 23 once versus Buffalo. Can he get there? Yes. But I would say he's a very safe bet for 12 to 16 fantasy points. So I don't love having him as a captain, but I do not mind having him in my pool of players and having him in some lineups. All right, so now let's get over to the wide receiver. Wide receiver for FanDuel, we got Tyler Boyd coming in the highest owned, then Jamar Chase and Trenton Irwin, followed by the slew of Ravens receivers. And then on DraftKings, we got Jamar Chase coming in as highest owned, Zay Flowers, Bateman, Aguilar, Boyd, OBJ. So, it looks like Bateman does have the best matchup. It's a matchup that Noah Brown just went off in. However, Noah Brown was more of the RB2 and not RB3 in that situation, while Dell was more the RB1. I mean, Woods was there, so I guess you could say Noah Brown was still the 3, but Woods is a shell of his former self, and Noah Brown has been very good lately. Matchup wise, my issue with Bateman: 4 targets, 5 targets, 2 targets, 3 targets, 3. He's just not getting that much work, and I think he's a little expensive for the amount of work that he's getting. He hasn't shown us the upside that he had in some games last year, and he's just kind of meh. Is he in a decent matchup? Yeah, but meh. Aguilar, when he's got run, he has been decent. However, more issues. This is the Ravens receiving core. 2 targets, 1 target, 1 target, 1 target. Just got a touchdown. So I don't know if you can really trust Aguilar. At least with him, he is extremely cheap on DraftKings. And that is the only reason that I'd be playing him on DraftKings is he's cheap enough, and he can get it done. He could do work on a couple targets, so he's at least of interest. Zay Flowers, clear-cut number 1 for him, but still 6 targets, 1, 7, 6, 8, 11. He is the only one that you can count on getting targets for. He is clearly the number 1 on this team, and he's moderately priced on DraftKings and pretty expensive on FanDuel. Now, I don't mind him on FanDuel because of his ownership, but we have seen that he has been the Joe Mixon, if you will, of wide receivers this year. 9 receptions for 78, 5 for 64. He's mid, he's around 50 to 80 yards, kind of Michael Thomas-ish, but a little more explosive. And, he continually gets it done, but we haven't seen a ceiling game from him. Hopefully it comes soon. I think he does have the ability, so I don't want to put him in the whole Joe Mixon category, but, tame some expectations. He's going to need to get in the box once or twice to really pay off as a captain. Jamar Chase, look, Cooper just went off against him. Metcalf had 50 yards on 1 play, so there's absolutely big playability here. Amon-Ra went nuts. Solid WR1s have done well, and it doesn't get much more solid than Jamar Chase, especially in a game that T. Higgins is out. I think we can count on double-digit targets and, possibly targets in the teens. And if he's getting targets in the teens, he's going to crush, and he's definitely a captain consideration. Tyler Boyd, look, no T. Higgins. He slides in as a 2. He got 12 targets last week with that. When he gets his targets, he has some big games. Now, do I expect 8 for 117 again? No, but I do think he's going to have a solid game, and he's more than worthy to be in consideration. Irwin, look, he didn't get much work with T. Higgins out last week. Only had 4 targets, but the last time he was out, he had 10 targets. So now we have a 2-game sample of Irwin without T. Higgins. 8 for 60 yards and 2 for 54 with a touchdown. I think he's clearly in your player pool. And move over to tight end. The best matchup for the Ravens is clearly Mark Andrews versus the Cincinnati defense. Schultz did well versus him. Kincaid did well for him. Kittle did well against him. I think if you go back to week 2, 5 for 45 and a touchdown, I think Andrews is in a great spot to do very well. Then we got Hudson on the other side. I think Hudson's pretty interesting in this spot. So, Njoku did all right. Seattle doesn't really use their tight ends. McBride had a good game. Laporta had a solid game. Njoku did all right again week 4. And Hudson's been involved lately. 7 targets, 6 for 33 last week. 5 targets, 4 for 45 versus Buffalo. Before he got injured, he was being used a little bit. I think he's very interesting, and he's definitely in consideration at $7K on FanDuel and $2,600 on DraftKings. I think he's going to get work because on DK it's PPR. He has some added value there, or full point PPR, I should say. So I like the spot for him. Also, there is Irv Smith there, but he just hasn't been getting many targets, so I don't mind going there, don't love it, but both tight ends without T. Higgins are more interesting. Absolutely consider both of them, as well as Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely on the Ravens side. Let's try to dig into these deeper pieces a little bit here. Isaiah Likely, not getting much target-wise. He is involved a little bit. He's playing a little bit of snaps. Can he get a touchdown? Yes. And that's simply as it goes. So, Irv Smith, 1 target last week, 4 the week before, 4 the week before that. I think he can be involved, but Hudson being back is definitely eating into his ability to really go off. I think Hudson is the guy I would rather have at this point between those two. Now let's get into the defenses here. Neither defense is very high owned on both sites, and I think both are respectable. Both teams may have to pass a lot, which leads to, more potential sacks, more potential interceptions or pick six or, whatever it could be. So because both are so low owned, I would have consideration for either of them. Do I want to go out of my way to play them tonight? No, but I think they need to be in your player pool. The game total is only 46. If that goes under and it's more like a 43, 42 total, the defenses are absolutely in play. And that is 100% in the range of outcomes for this game. So I think you need to consider both. And kicker-wise, McPherson, Tucker, both of these guys have real big legs. I think both of them are interesting. And at mid-teens ownership, both need to be considered. And if this is a slugfest, which very well could happen where it's a lower scoring game, these guys could be captain categories. Look, both of these offenses are going to be able to move the ball. It just depends on what happens when it gets into the red zone. If the defenders are able to make some stops, kickers get a lot better. And that, again, is fully in the range of outcomes. Leverage-wise, our highest leverage tools, Duvernay, Travion Williams, Drew Sample. Don't really love any of them. Williams hasn't really got much work at all. He is being used as a kick returner a little bit, so, maybe he's able to bust one, but not a very high likelihood of happening. And then I don't mind going to some Duvernay. Patrick Ricard, they use him a little bit, and he could get in the end zone. He plays a decent amount of snaps. Just does he get in the end zone? is the big question there. So, all right, guys, that will do it for us today. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Build your lineups, as if there's a story behind it. Is it a Bengals just crushing of the Ravens in 5-1 stack, or is it the other way where the Ravens crush the Bengals, or a tightly contested game? Just build your lineups around a story and think out those possible outcomes. It'll put you in a way, way better spot when making your lineups than just going willy-nilly with it. Anyways, guys, good luck tonight. Let's win some money. And I'll see you back tomorrow for the NFL DFS slate breakdown for Week 11. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.